Agent Survival Guide podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Ruppel, and today is Monday, October 7th, 2024. Thanks for joining us as we find ourselves in the 2-week stretch of time between plan details becoming public for beneficiaries and the official start of the annual enrollment period. It is plan review time. That has been our recommendation for agents with existing Medicare beneficiaries in their book of business. Plan reviews are especially relevant this year with the changes coming to Medicare Part D because of the Inflation Reduction Act. Change isn't always easy to process, and while the disruption expected this year isn't going to be as impactful as initially projected, a change is still a change. For some clients, the changes might be small, and they'll want to stay in their current plan. Other clients might find themselves shopping for new options for the first time since they turned 65. Lots of changes for clients, and a different kind of enrollment year for agents. It's likely to be a little more stressful than the average AEP. So I thought today we'd talk about how agents can stay motivated amidst the disruption of a challenging enrollment season. How can we navigate this change in helpful and healthy ways? First up on our list is education. This is typically where I start with any kind of project, challenging or otherwise. I start with research. As these changes have been forecast, reported on, and updated, we've been talking about those forecasts, reports, and updates. I truly believe there is power in knowledge, and we aim to try and bring that information here to the podcast to keep agents like you informed. And in turn, your clients expect that of you. They're going to want to know why things are changing, what that means for them, and what action they should take, whether it's coming to terms with the increased cost or shopping for a different plan. Not all of them are going to be happy about these changes. Knowing what's going on and why, being able to answer those questions just as well as you can answer the ins and outs of Medicare, that is going to be a huge relief to your clients. They're going to be looking to you for those answers. So you'll want to do the research and have those answers for them. The second part of that knowledge and forewarning, while many of your clients will likely be frustrated about the changes, some are inevitably going to be more outwardly frustrated than others. And that's something that I recommend being prepared for the when rather than the if. I'm not saying to take a negative approach to this AEP, but I do think it's important to realistically prepare for the possibility that clients are going to be more frustrated this year than in years past. Pack some extra patience. Appointments are likely going to take a little bit longer, especially if you need to go over new plan options for shoppers. Be patient with those who are outwardly frustrated. It's okay to empathize with their situation. I wouldn't go so far as to apologize for the changes, but you can certainly empathize with the fact that costs are going up and they're on a budget. That's frustrating. We can all relate to that. And while it might be difficult, try not to focus on the negativity of their frustration. Rather, listen intently to what they're saying about their health, their coverage needs, and the changes. Can you reframe their frustration and push the conversation forward to a solution? What about fact-finding and presenting a solution based on something they mentioned? We've got 2 articles on dealing with difficult clients and frustrated clients on our blog. While they're not exactly the same as this exact circumstance, there's helpful information in both, so we'll be linking to them in the episode notes. If you're not already, I highly recommend following along with our show to stay updated throughout the rest of AEP. We publish episodes about products, compliance, marketing, and sales, but we also publish episodes on mindset and how to deal with stress. Given the disruption coming this year and the fact that it's an election year, I'm expecting this fall to be more chaotic than usual. I don't like the fact that it's true, but there's not that much I can do about the circumstances around this enrollment period. What I can do, though, is make sure that we are answering as many of your questions as we can and putting out content that helps you as you're actively navigating this AEP. So that's what we're going to do, and I invite you to send in your questions to our show, asgpodcast@ritterim.com. We are happy to answer those questions for you. In addition to what Mad Eye Moody would call constant vigilance, make sure you're giving yourself credit where credit is due, especially throughout the annual enrollment period. Goals are important, but sometimes we forget that they are made of smaller achievements. And too often we forget to celebrate those smaller milestones. Tina will tell you to celebrate every accomplishment, and I agree. We will actually be linking to that episode in the notes, just in case you need a little extra motivation. When it comes to our goals, some of them are big for a reason. We all need those large, all-encompassing goals that take a full year to achieve. It's just that depending on the goal, it can sometimes be difficult to see noticeable progress. That's why we break big goals down into smaller goals. It helps us track our progress and gives us small success after small success to build on. Remember, just because you haven't reached a certain goal, that doesn't mean you failed. It means that you're on the way down that path. You're on a journey. You just didn't reach your goal yet. Celebrate all the wins, big and small. Learn from what doesn't work and replicate what does. Next up, and we've touched on this concept a little bit in each of these examples. A lot of what we're talking about here today comes back to mindset. How do you think about the world around you? Those thoughts affect how you approach others. How do you talk to yourself throughout the day? What are you focused on? The negatives or the positives? What do you think you're going to notice first in others? Are you in the business truly to help your clients and forge relationships with them? Or are you just in it to make money? What is your why? I'm a big believer that our mindset has an impact on how we navigate life and interact with others. I know that I need positive speech, influences, and experiences moving through my life in order to stay motivated, productive, and able to speak life into others. I have people in my life who help me maintain that mindset, but I also have resources to get me in that mindset when I need a little extra push in that direction. I've mentioned before that I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there are shows for just about every mindset out there. If you're looking for motivation, inspiration, growing your business, there is a ton of content out there. We love featuring those types of stories here on the show. Another good podcast to listen to, the Inspire podcast from Integrity Marketing Group. In each episode, Integrity's co-founder and CEO, Brian Adams, sits down with new Integrity partners and talks with them about how they got to where they are today. It's a show filled with agent origin stories, and I have no doubt that if you listen, you'll find agents with a similar story to your own. Another podcast recommendation that I'll make here today, and I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this one before. I recommend everyone have a podcast they can use to get them in the right mindset for the day, whether that's sales, marketing, or a rundown of the day's news. For me, it's usually business related, and I listen before work in the morning. It's how I get myself geared up for a day of productivity and doing. And like I mentioned, there are a lot of these kinds of podcasts out there. If you're not the podcast type, motivation can be found in books too. Usually they fall under the business or self-help category. Sometimes they can be classified as both. But you're probably familiar with the more popular titles. Atomic Habits by James Clear, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Make Your Bed by Admiral William H. McRaven. These are just 3 that come to mind. A lot of titles to choose from, some more well-known than others, but there is literally something for everyone. What you choose depends on the challenges you're facing. Again, we're all different, so your mileage may vary on the ones I just mentioned. I do think it's important to take stock of ourselves, think about the things we struggle with, and then seek out knowledge on how to improve those areas. We've got an episode on books for insurance agents, as well as a few other motivation-related episodes that we will be linking to in the episode notes, so be sure to check those out. And then tying right into the concept of taking stock of how we're doing, make sure that you're taking time for yourself and taking care of yourself. Self-care looks different for everyone. There's a lot of ways to do it. For some, it might be crocheting a blanket. For others, it might be drawing a picture. For me, it's painting my nails. And then for others, it could be sticking to a regimented bedtime routine. Whatever it is that you enjoy doing, make sure you set aside time to take breaks and do those things. The annual enrollment period is a busy time, and especially this AEP, well, it's likely to be busier than normal. That means you should still take breaks, enjoy a good meal, spend time with your family, and take care of yourself. Sure, you might have to finagle your schedule a little bit more to fit things in, and you might need to rely on your staff to pick up the slack a little bit more than usual, but you'll get through it. And if you need a reminder, drop this episode into a playlist to help you stay motivated through the season. We mentioned quite a few different resources today, some of which are previous episodes of our podcast. You'll find those episodes and their links listed in the notes under the resources heading. And again, if you have questions, our email is asgpodcast@ritterim.com, and that is also linked in the notes. Thanks so much for listening to this installment of our show. We will see you next episode. The Agent Survival Guide podcast is a production of Ritter Insurance Marketing, an integrity company. This episode was written and produced by me, Sarah Ruppel. Script editing by Tina Lamoureux. Podcast design by Urban Rivera. Artwork by Vivian Zhao. Follow along with our show wherever you like to listen. Rate and review our show on Apple or Spotify.